I stood quiet 2 days just watching it play out, watching what excuses the people come up with. Every day, every year, every time I come out, y'all move the goalposts further, further, further.
You are what you are, buddy. You official on the Wooden and Charleston White team. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm okay with being a snitch. But you is a snitch too.
Putting on a master class in how to take a good brand and totally it up. He made a bunch of phone calls to tell people how he felt.
Young Thug might have believed that cracking jokes or rambling would win people over, but that approach clearly backfired. Not only are fans mocking him, but now fellow rappers are joining in, making things
even worse for him.
So, why did he have an opinion on my case?
He doesn't like rats. He said he doesn't like.
Cool. 21 Savage don't like rats? Lil Baby don't like.
At this point, Thug is likely regretting not staying quiet after getting out, because it seems like every day there's a new leaked audio, and each one continues to damage his reputation on the streets. The biggest issue remains a single piece of evidence that continues to follow him. A 2-hour interrogation recording from 2015. That tape has become the main example people use when accusing him of cooperating with authorities. From the very beginning, the situation looked bad. Extremely bad. Right when the interrogation began, Thug refused to even acknowledge his rights. He clearly didn't want it on record that he was there having that conversation. Then, he told detectives that he'd say whatever they needed, as long as the public never found out. That alone set the tone. It showed he understood how damaging it would be if the conversation ever became public. And just like he said, once the recording began, Thug didn't hold back. He spoke freely. At one point, he implicated Pee Wee Roscoe, openly stating that Roscoe carried weapons for Wayne and was involved in criminal activity daily. That wasn't just casual conversation. It was a direct accusation about another person's involvement in crime. And people aren't ignoring that. Thug didn't stop there. He gave a full breakdown to detectives about the financial tension between Lil Wayne and Birdman. He explained how Birdman was preventing Wayne from releasing his album and not paying him what he was owed.
Remain silent. And that's it.
Do you understand that?
Initially?
I don't want to initially.
That's fine. If you don't want to initially, that's fine. As long as you want to.
According to then that's it. Do you understand that? You want an initial? I don't want to initial. That's fine. If you don't want to initial, that's okay. According to Thug, Birdman was outright lying about the reasons behind the conflict, leaving Lil Wayne without what he was owed. Thug even referenced Wayne's own lyrics, specifically the line where Wayne says, "Birdman is an army. I'm a one-man army, and if that dude coming for me, I'm going out like Tony." Using Wayne's words to support his claims only made things more intense. But Thug didn't end there. He also suggested that Pee Wee Roscoe was the person who actually shot at Wayne's tour bus. Since Roscoe eventually received a 10-year sentence for that very incident, many felt Thug's comments lined up too closely with the outcome to be a coincidence. Later in the same interrogation, when the focus turned to YSL, Thug tried to play it off with humor, saying it was just a clothing brand. He said YSL stood for Young Stone Life or Young Successful Living. Thug downplayed the idea that it was a gang, treating the label like a harmless name. But in hindsight, that defense didn't age well. Years later, during his own RICO case, he entered a guilty plea for being associated with gang-related criminal activity. That directly contradicts his earlier claims and makes the just a clothing brand argument seem insincere. Toward the end of the tape, Thug even refused to take the officer's business card, almost like he understood how bad it would look if anyone saw it in his possession. But by then, the damage was already done. When the video eventually leaked and started circulating online, the internet was quick to label him a snitch. Thug then tried to do damage control. He denied cooperating and claimed the footage didn't matter since it was never used in court. His main argument was basically, if they didn't use it, it doesn't count as snitching. Thug even took to Twitter, posting messages to defend his name. In one tweet, he said that criticizing him would only hurt the rap community even more.
Oh, brother than Bird and Wayne.
Oh, Roscoe and Lil Wayne were more than
used to brain Wayne.
I'm the glue to this fake game. But no matter how strongly he tried to frame his stance, the denials didn't hold up. And the timing couldn't have been worse. While Thug was trying to shake off the snitch label, more leaks continued to surface, each one adding more weight to the accusations. What's really frustrating fans is the clear contradiction in Thug's actions, especially regarding Gunna. You'll recall, Thug went hard against Gunna after he accepted an Alfred plea in court, In doing so, Gunna acknowledged that YSL was a gang and admitted he was aware of members or affiliates involved in criminal activities supporting it. To Thug, that crossed the line. He even publicly distanced himself from Gunna, tweeting, "Gunna, stop acting like we're friends on the internet. I don't know you, my guy."
And Birdman, they never put it out. So he started a little organization called Free Carter 5. I mean, bring it out. And then Birdman told me that, so I'm like, oh, so that's what's wrong.
At the time, that statement came across as bold. But now that these tapes are resurfacing, fans are openly calling Thug out for not living up to the same standard he demanded from others. When Thug eventually returned with new music, he didn't hold back. He doubled down on his position with pointed lyrics aimed directly at Gunna, saying, "Brother, you're a rat twin. You a pack." The message was clear. Thug was labeling Gunna as a snitch and severing ties in the most direct way possible. But here's the twist. Both artists ended up taking plea deals. Gunna accepted an Alfred plea, which acknowledges the gang's existence without admitting personal guilt. On the other hand, Thug took a direct guilty plea in his own RICO case. Though different in structure, both agreements recognized YSL's link to criminal activity. Now fans are turning that same lens on Thug. As one outlet put it, either Gunna is a snitch, and by that logic, Thug's guilty plea makes him an even bigger one. Or neither of them deserve that label. In short, Thug's own words have put him at the center of the contradiction he once criticized.
In Atlanta, and I was in New Orleans. I said, what the f***? That was so weird. This nigga, they all shot at too.
Then there's the well-known yes ma'am moment, when Gunna's two-word courtroom response went viral. Thug and others used it to mock him, pointing to it as a sign he cracked under pressure. But now, that same criticism is coming back toward Thug. Fast forward to today, and people are raising a more serious question. What about Thug's own 2-hour interrogation video? The one where he mentioned Birdman, Wayne, and Roscoe, laying out full details. In comparison, Gunna's yes ma'am clip seems minor. One Reddit user explained it clearly. Gunna didn't directly accuse anyone. What he said couldn't be used to convict others. He managed to avoid snitching, but because the moment was caught on video and leaked, people quickly labeled him one. On the other hand, Thug is on tape talking, naming individuals, and sharing specific stories. That's what many are now calling real snitch behavior, and it's not just fans or Reddit users speaking up. Rappers and industry insiders are now weighing in too. You don't want my card? Some people don't, especially those in jail. They don't want to be seen holding a cop's card. They're afraid of what others will think. One name being brought up frequently in this conversation is Kendrick Lamar. In another leaked clip, Thug is heard expressing frustration about trying to secure a Kendrick feature, likely for his 2023 album Business is Business, and getting turned down. Thug didn't hide his irritation, saying Kendrick acted like he was too big for collaborations. "I ain't doing no features." That comment added more tension. But Thug went further, claiming Kendrick hadn't just declined him, he also turned down Lil Durk and Lil Baby. According to Thug, Kendrick's refusal wasn't about music, it was about ego. He painted Kendrick as someone choosing to stay distant from the rest of the rap community, positioning himself above it instead of contributing and working with his peers.
It's a music label and a gang, and you have personal knowledge that members or associates of YSL have committed crimes in furtherance of the gang.
In the leaked phone call, Thug snapped, "You supposed to be a dude blessing NS." He didn't stop there. He went on to say that this was exactly why artists like Kendrick would never surpass Drake in status. Thug used Drake, someone he's collaborated with many times, as the ideal example of what a true superstar looks like. In contrast, he portrayed Kendrick as the opposite, too isolated, too focused on ego, and too selective with collaborations. Hina argued that Kendrick's unwillingness to work with him contributed to Kendrick's weaker connection in certain areas of the culture, especially among East Coast street audiences. In Thug's view, fans in those communities don't relate as much to Kendrick's music because Kendrick doesn't engage with the culture in the same way that others do. Thug then shifted focus to Kendrick's cousin, Baby Keem. He dismissed Keem's talent and influence, suggesting Kendrick was wasting his support on family rather than boosting major names like Thug himself, Lil Durk, or Lil Baby. But in the end, Thug's entire rant ended up working against him. Instead of coming across as confident, many saw it as entitled, and it only made him appear more disconnected from the very culture he was critiquing.
All out. Supposed to be a cool blessing nigga. That's why I'll never be bigger than Drake, ever in life. Never be bigger than Buddy.
Fans wasted to point out the obvious. Kendrick doesn't owe Thug or anyone else a feature. And when it comes to Baby Keem, that's his actual cousin, naturally, he's going to prioritize family, regardless of whether Keem meets Thug's standards or not. What's interesting is that, in hindsight, it seems Kendrick may have already addressed this tension in his music, long before anyone realized Thug had an issue with him. On Squabble Up, Kendrick raps, "Pipe down, young N. Oh, these some whole other politics, beef with him, and some beef in him. That's a lot of beef in him." Later in the same verse, he continues, "Tell me why the F, you dudes rap if it's fictional. Tell me why the dudes fed if you criminal. A dot, can I get a drop?" I'm like, nah, that's typical Kendrick. He doesn't respond through interviews or social media. He addresses things directly in his music. And for fans, those lyrics now carry much more weight. But it wasn't just Kendrick dropping subtle hints. Enter 50 Cent. And if there's one thing that's clear, it's that whenever controversy hits hip-hop, 50 is never far from the conversation.
Saying like a Thug and a Gunna and everything that they're going through. Yeah. And you look at other people too, and I said on the record, I said, I am not gang. I do not gang.
50 thrives on moments like this. As soon as conversation around Thug's interrogation tape started gaining momentum, he took to Instagram with a cryptic post. He shared a clip of a man dancing in the rain to the Dramatics classic. But it was the caption that grabbed everyone's attention. "This how you gotta move in the streets now? 'Cause these dudes telling, be careful now." He never mentioned Thug directly, but the timing was too specific to overlook. The post came just hours after the interrogation footage leaked, so fans immediately linked the two, and this wasn't even 50's first time weighing in on the YSL situation. Back in 2023, when the RICO charges were still fresh, 50 publicly said he intentionally keeps his distance from anything associated with gangs. He made it clear that law enforcement isn't just going after organized crime groups anymore. They're coming for rappers who try to balance street life and music. In his view, artists like Thug were putting themselves at risk. Many agreed with 50's perspective, arguing that if YSL hadn't operated like a gang, the RICO charges wouldn't have happened, and all the snitching allegations wouldn't be part of the conversation. Then, of course, there's 6ix9ine. If there's any rapper guaranteed to jump into a controversy like this, it's him. He's widely recognized as the most notorious snitch in modern hip-hop, and unlike others, he fully embraces the label.
Dirt got something to do with non-trade.
No.
Huh?
No.
Why did he have an opinion on my case?
He doesn't like rats. He said he doesn't like snitches.
Cool. 21 Savage don't like rats? Lil Baby.
So when Thug's leaked footage surfaced, 6ix9ine didn't waste a second before calling him out. He immediately focused on the double standard, criticizing how the industry is treating Thug much differently than it treated him. According to 6ix9ine, people are shifting the standards. Back when he was arrested, artists who had no connection to his situation publicly condemned him, claiming they'd never collaborate with a so-called snitch. But now with Thug, some of those same individuals are staying quiet or offering excuses. In 6ix9ine's view, the reaction just doesn't add up, and he wasn't going to ignore it. He also minimized Thug's legal situation, arguing it was nowhere near as serious as his own federal RICO case. 6ix9ine mocked Thug, saying, "Stop clapping for this dude. Stop giving him credit for taking a plea in a state case. Everybody took a plea in a state case. That's not a win. You got 20 years probation. That's not a win. That's a loss." And surprisingly, a lot of people agreed with him, which says a lot, because when listeners start siding with 6ix9ine, it's clear Thug's public image has taken a serious
all
hit.
people.
Bro, that's God. That ain't nothing but God biting you back in your... Bro, cause you probably been thankful that you just beat a life sentence in a RICO and came home and minded your business and been humble. But instead, you still coming out pushing the rat narrative, bro, and all that, this, that, and the third. Now look, you came back and bought your bitch.
Things didn't end there. Next came YSL Mondo, someone who had real ties to the inner circle, and his comments cut even deeper. According to Mondo, Thug's downfall didn't begin with the recent leaks. In his view, it started right after Thug beat that first RICO case. Instead of laying low and moving quietly, Mondo says Thug came out loud, mocking Gunna and labeling others as snitches, all while knowing he had his own secrets.
Snitch is someone that comply with the government, just bargaining for their freedom when they have done something illegal. Man, a rat, a snitching, it's nothing selective.
For Mondo, that's when the cracks really started to show. He sees it as a clear case of karma. Thug presented himself as completely anti-snitch, only to now be exposed for doing the same thing he criticized others for. And now that it's public, it's coming back around. Mondo also called out Pee Wee Roscoe, saying Roscoe had been misled by Thug. This came after Roscoe went on IG Live to defend Thug, arguing that, in his view, a snitch is someone who makes a deal with the government after being proven guilty, just to save themselves. Based on that logic, Roscoe claimed Thug didn't actually snitch, but most people didn't agree. That kind of argument came off as mental gymnastics, especially since Roscoe himself served 10 years for the very case Thug commented on. To most observers, it looked more like blind loyalty than logic. Others weren't as diplomatic. Whack 100 and Munchie B, both known for being brutally direct, made their stance clear. Thug was snitching. No elaborate defense, no excuses. Their view was simple. The moment you sit in front of law enforcement and start talking about someone else's actions, naming people or dropping clues, that's cooperating. And then there's YSL Woody, the central witness in the RICO case, already under heavy scrutiny for allegedly working with the feds.
Tell him, bro. He a snitch, bro.
He a snitch. Munchie stamping him a snitch.
Yeah, but I mean, he didn't say nothing about the bus shit. He said he commit crimes every day, all right. But all that, he carried my drug shit, that's telling. Off the rip, that's telling, bro.
Charleston even he came out as far as saying he'd personally ruin Thug's career to the point that he'd never be able to rap again. If anyone seemed openly pleased about Thug's collapse, it was Charleston White. But the backlash didn't end there. Another leaked phone call captured Thug venting about Lil Durk, saying, "I already done too much for you, man. Watch out." This after Durk allegedly refused to clear a verse for Thug's album. That sparked an immediate response from Durk's crew, who quickly mocked Thug online. Making things worse, an old lyric from Durk resurfaced. "Rappers goofy stains pay me for a song, don't clear the verse." Now fans are speculating that the bar was aimed at Thug all along. At this point, the criticism surrounding Thug isn't just about leaked tapes or snitching claims. More people are now framing him as egotistical, someone who changes his story, misleads others when convenient, and lashes out at anyone who doesn't side with him.
Even louder.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm okay with being a snitch. But you is a snitch too.
Even
Charleston.
YSL Woody came out strong against Thug, openly calling him a snitch and saying he now belonged to the rat community. But he didn't stop there. Woody also sent a warning to Lil Baby and 21 Savage, telling them to steer clear of Thug, claiming that if Thug went down, he'd bring them down with him. Not long after, fans noticed that 21 Savage had unfollowed Thug on Instagram, something many took as confirmation that Woody's warning had been taken seriously. While Woody was sounding the alarm, Charleston White was actively celebrating Thug's downfall. Though Charleston isn't a rapper, he's built his platform on controversy. And when it came to Thug, he didn't hold back. He launched into one of his usual rants, tearing into Thug's hypocrisy regarding Gunna and making the situation even more public.
More months. Locked up in them conditions like that there. He'll tell to get out of jail too. He about ready to break.
I told y'all, I am the new crop. And you mad at Yak got it. You mad at Gunna. Gunna don't have no interrogation tapes. And everybody mad at Gunna.
Atlanta, I know y'all love Thug. And I love y'all. But y'all just bear with me. I'm finna destroy Young Thug. He will not.
Anytime Thug sees others in the spotlight, he tends to come across as bitter, jealous, and entitled. Now, more people are starting to believe that his behavior has actually damaged what was once a unified rap scene. For over a decade, Atlanta was the dominant force in hip-hop. But many are now accusing Thug of being the one who fractured that unity, driven by ego and unnecessary drama. And here's the surprising twist. While Thug focused on tearing down Gunna's reputation, it's Gunna who's coming out ahead. His album dropped and performed well. Both critics and fans supported it. Some are even suggesting that Gunna's project outperformed Thug's on its own. While Business is Business may have relied on paid streams to boost its numbers, the momentum is clearly shifting. Gunna's public image is gradually recovering, while Thug's continues to decline. People are even comparing Thug's situation to Meek Mill's falloff, when Meek went too hard against 6ix9ine. That intense focus on calling out snitching ended up hurting Meek's reputation more than it helped. Now, it seems Thug is facing the same trap, letting personal rivalries and accusations get in the way of the music and alienate the very culture he helped build. The tide has clearly turned. Gunna's reputation is gradually recovering, while Thug's continues to decline. Some fans are even drawing comparisons to Meek Mill's situation. Back when Meek went too far in attacking 6ix9ine, His focus on the snitching narrative ended up overshadowing his music and hurt his brand more than it helped. Now, people are saying Thug is falling into the same trap, putting more energy into calling out rats than delivering the music fans actually want. The message from the culture is clear. If Thug wants to bounce back, he needs to let go of the snitch accusations, put the feud with Gunna behind him, and refocus on the music. But at the moment, instead of mending relationships, Thug just seems like someone tearing them apart. And if you thought this breakdown was intense, wait until you see what's coming next. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode.